Chairman Mao had a saying, and he said, "Woman, hold up half the sky. Woman, hold up half the sky." And so I think that comment put people even Steven, and that's what I see. It's fantastic.
It's such an Australian expression, even Steven. It's about fairness, equity and equality. In this case, between women and men. And it's such a Chinese virtue. Women hold up half the sky. So on this edition of The Big Picture, we celebrate all of that with 3 inspiring women. They share their insights.
I see so many women doing so many things, so I've never had that barrier in my mind that it's going to be difficult or that perhaps I can't do something. So I've been really fortunate that I've had this professional life in China.
Their experiences.
When we started chai in Australia, no one really knew what it was. But imagine having that opportunity in a market like China. I mean, we are going to create chai in China. We will be the first.
And how they negotiated the sometimes rocky road to success.
I worked in the South Australian Museum Cafe and, I just thought, I do have a bit of spare time in my hand. I would like to get some experience and, I could practice my English.
Attention, testing of the fire evacuation system is about to commence. Repeat, this is a test only.
Sorry, you're just warming up. You're just warming up too, weren't you?
That's okay.
This is The Big Picture. In China, my first guest needs no introduction. Australian-born and Shanghai-based, Heidi Dugan has forged a hugely successful career. And it all began with her being brave enough to listen to instinct, urging her to go for it. So let's meet Heidi.
We're okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Hung Hao, very good. Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So how does an aspiring actress from Queensland who goes to Japan end up a business strategist and TV celebrity in China?
I know it seems like it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but for me it was always something that I think was really a journey that I was going on as an actress. And so when I arrived here, it was really about learning and experiencing life, which is what all good actresses are meant to do. And so when I arrived here, it was like this new world sort of opened up to me.
I had made a decision to come from Australia to live in China then. I didn't want to live in Italy or London, so I was interested in China.
I got into TV here in China, and then that, because it was all to do with food, I became more and more popular. And through that, I started working with food companies and brands, and it's just sort of taken off.
The first thing you should do is take the lobster, put it into some salt water and let it sit there for about half an hour so it can actually clean itself out.
You actually started your time in China in Wuhan. How did that happen, and what was Wuhan like all those years ago when you first arrived?
It was actually my father told me about an opportunity. The RMIT was doing a course in international trade in Wuhan, and it was definitely a real eye-opener. There was nothing foreign there at the time. I remember there was, across the river, there was one McDonald's, there was one Holiday Inn, and we were staying in a dormitory of 20 Australian students, and we got to study at the iron and steel factory university with all the other students. We were right on the Yangtze River, so I've heard it's completely different now and, has developed so much. But I haven't had the opportunity to go back, but I'd love to.
So, Tim, Heidi, clearly a funny woman, clearly sort of a funny, intelligent woman. What was your impression?
Well, funny, intelligent, but extremely adventurous. She went over to Japan to be an actress and then gets this idea from someone to go to China and doesn't go to a place like Shanghai or Beijing with lots of international people. She goes to Wuhan. She goes out in the middle of China. Remarks about there's rats in the place and she laughs that off and just a vivacious type of person. And I found that with all the women in the program. I mean, they had a bit of get up and go, a bit of a ability to roll with the punches and good sense of humour, even whilst climbing great heights, which they've done.
Hi, I'm Heidi, TV host, author, entrepreneur and China market expert.
Mao Zedong said, women hold up half the sky, and every time I go to China I notice women are very prominent in business, they're very prominent entrepreneurs in companies, in diplomacy. Is that right? Are women, you know, fundamentally at the forefront of commercial life in China, do you find?
You know, it's something that, having been here for so long and really for being pretty much most of my professional life, I have never really been exposed that much to any sort of glass ceiling or any sort of a conflict, you know, male, female in business. And especially here in Shanghai, where the women are known to be incredibly powerful business women, sometimes even to the point you sort of go, oh no, she's Shanghainese, you know, we've got to be really careful with this negotiation. You've really got to be super careful. So, yeah, and I love that because I think for me, I'm definitely very independent and I see so many women doing so many things. So I've never had that barrier in my mind that it's going to be difficult or that perhaps I can't do something because I see so many other women doing these things. So I've been really fortunate that I've had this professional life in China as opposed to some of the other countries.
I think, you know, women can be great business people and leader in general. Chinese are well known for, you know, hardworking, open-minded, determined, driven, and, you know, and I guess there is a lot of startup business in China, a very competitive market. It does give a lot of good opportunities to people, especially women, in that environment to, you know, start up their own business or have supported into a very a senior organisation. And I guess that's probably why there are more and more Chinese becoming successful.
Betty Wang is the modern face of female entrepreneurial success in business today. Born and raised in China, she finished her education in Australia and stayed to build a career here and start her own financial empire. Now, when she isn't juggling the demands of motherhood, she's managing the fortunes of some of Australia's and the world's wealthiest individuals. Not bad for a young woman from Wuhan, a place few Aussies had heard of when Betty first arrived. Was it emotional to leave your hometown?
Yeah, so at age of 16, my mum had that decision was because we had a family friend who came to Sydney 3 years before I came to Australia, became really successful. And I was quite independent when I was little anyway, so I guess it is a very big decision from my parents' point of view, but they were confident enough that, you know, I could survive in Australia on my own at that age. And I was quite excited when I found out because that's just when I had a few idols in Australia, you know, Ian Thorpe was one of it. You know, a few things in Australia, koalas, you know, kangaroos, they all seem really cute. And, you know, just, you know, for a girl at that age just wanted to explore. But, you know, at the departure, I really felt, you know, I was, you know, pretty sad, really leaving home.
Was that your first time on a plane?
It was my first time on the international plane.
You'd flown around China, but not
No,
overseas.
no, that was actually my first time on the plane. Yeah.
From a city of 10 million to a city 1/10 the size, my old hometown, Adelaide, capital of South Australia.
Oh, I love the city. When I first got there, I was in a bit of cultural shock. It just because, you know, from Wuhan, you know, a mega city to a city that, you know, has about 1 million population.
And of course, with Wuhan, like in all Chinese cities, at night time, everyone's out and about. While in Adelaide, people go home unless there's half-price movies on Tuesday.
That's right. And I remember the supermarket used to close at 5 o'clock and they close on the weekends as well. So you better get all your shoppings done, you know, before Friday night.
That would be a real shock, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I think the Chinese middle class are hungry for education for their children and they want them to go abroad and they want them to get new experiences. And I think Australia's success is that we're an open country, and that's, you know, signified in business but also in our education system. I think having an international pool of students provides a lot of diversity and a lot of interest for local students as well as the international students, and you know, Betty's a good example of that.
Both of my parents are business people and I thought, you know, I probably do want to take that path.
And of course Adelaide has some of the best economists, you know, in Australia from there, so you're part of that tradition.
Yes, I am. For example, yourself, Tim.
That's right. Oh, you remember that. After uni, her career took off. Her wealth management brilliance saw her headhunted by bank after bank. The rewards and awards flowed, including Young Chinese Entrepreneur of the Year. The investment Betty's parents made in her and Australia has more than paid off.
Australia is a great country. You know, we are very lucky that there is a lot of great resources in Australia. There is a lot of fantastic assets. You know, farms, wineries, commercial buildings. You know, with the share market, even though it's not huge in the world, but there is a lot of shares that are quite significant in terms of the technology, the AI. Canva that's from Australia. Now it's quite popular. Afterpay, we've seen it. So there is a lot of technology in Australia that's actually ranking quite high in the world. I think there is a lot of good opportunities in Australia, not to be missed.
And you'd advise your Chinese investors the same thing, that there's expansion here?
Absolutely, yeah.
While Betty's career progressed at lightning pace down under, further north, Heidi was experiencing similar success in China, making a name on air,
Rich soup all combined. Let's go for the tofu.
building a business off air,
$2 million in sales in just 90 minutes on live broadcast.
learning lessons and passing on her knowledge. So you advise a lot of Australian brands in China, particularly in the food industry.
Yeah.
What sort of advice do you give to them to make them become successful?
I think for me, the big thing is commitment. It's about that focus and the dedication to actually making it happen and sticking to it until it works. And I do also recommend that they've got someone here on the ground that can be advising them if they're not here themselves, and giving them sort of up-to-date information, because China's just changing so much and so quickly that, 6 months goes by and there's something new that's happening. So it's really important that they have that continual contact with someone in the country.
Do you have a partner, a local partner in China?
Well, we're working with an Aussie lady actually in China at the moment, Heidi. She is amazing. And I think if Heidi hadn't found us, or if we hadn't found Heidi, we wouldn't be in China.
How Heidi got Melissa into China is a story that begins in New York at the end of the last century. Melissa and her boyfriend Martin were holidaying there. They'd come to the Big Apple from the Apple Island, Tasmania, Australia's southernmost state. New Year's Eve 1999, you were in Times Square.
Yes.
What were you doing there?
Freezing.
Freezing. There's the big one, it was the Millennial. Why did you go there?
It was an adventure, I suppose. Get out of Tassie, see the big ball drop, hocked up the credit card.
And off you went.
And off we went.
Now, not many people have been transformed by a drink, but how did that happen?
We walked into a cafe and it didn't smell like coffee. And in America, they drink pretty heavy-duty coffee. So Martin went up to the guy at the counter and said, what's everybody drinking? And he said, oh, it's chai, man. And he said, well, I'll have one.
That was it?
And that was it.
You never had it before?
No, I never heard of it.
Two things happened. First, Melissa loved the taste.
Because, I don't drink coffee at all. I'm a tea girl. And it's the coffee you have when you're not drinking coffee. So it's that warm, frothy milk, but with that tea base. So if you don't like the taste of coffee, then chai is your latte.
And second, she and Martin saw a promising business opportunity.
Someone was going to bring chai to Australia, so why not us?
This Tasmanian couple decided to name their business after an iconic Australian beach. And you called it Bondi. You're from Tassie.
Yes.
Why is that?
It's sexier than Tassie chai.
Oh, you never know. Yeah, right.
Well, we knew that chai is not a big seller. About 10% of the population drink chai. So we knew that we were never going to make enough money to have a good business in Australia. It had to be an export product. So we needed an iconic brand that would take us overseas.
Everyone knows Bondi.
And it rhymed with chai.
Oh, of course.
No one's going to be embarrassed to order a Bondi chai. So they're not going to say, can I have a chai, please? They'll say, can I have a Bondi chai, please?
It rhymes, doesn't it?
And that just gave us brand equity.
And away you go.
And away we go.
They quickly learnt that big dreams begin with hard work and sacrifice. So were you living in a warehouse eating 2-minute noodles, or?
We were living in a rental place eating 2-minute noodles.
Oh, well done.
It was just that year where you weren't really worried what you were doing. You were so excited about what was happening and you wanted to invest every cent you made back into the business to help it grow.
Now let's talk about China now. Why did you think of China as an export market?
Well, It happened very early. They're a tea drinking nation. This is a tea-based product.
Now, a lot of experts say there's this 9 bridges, you know, when you go to China. It's not a linear line. Has that been your experience?
Only 9?
Only 9? More?
Well, it's just finding the right connections. It's finding the right pathway. It's all about timing. It's all about the right people, and it's about openness to new products.
I can work with you and help you expand and succeed in China by better understanding the local business environment, consumer habits and culture, and your strategic placement in the market.
And what's Heidi done differently that you perhaps didn't do when you first went in?
Well, I think the first thing is the confidence, because she's an Aussie girl, and even though she's been living in Asia for most of her life, she understands the culture of Australia. She understands, you know, how we do business here. But she's lived and worked and grown a business in China. It just feels natural. It feels like you've got a friend.
Hi, my name's Heidi. Hi, my name's Heidi. My name's Heidi. Heidi.
You know, we all talk about guanxi, which is connections, and that's not just about within the relationship, within the business relationship, is when you have a relationship with a Chinese person or a Chinese business, it just continues. It's not something that when this contract is over, it finishes. They're never looking at that. They always look at who is that contact that is going to continue with me as a friend, as a partner through life. I mean, so many of my meetings are not done in an office. Most of them are done in cafes or in a restaurant. And it's really that way that people get to see your personality. Do you like them? Don't you like them? And I think that for me, that's been a really core reason why I've also been successful, is because the people I've met, you know, I've invested that time into them to have meals with them and to get to know them as people.
In Australia, Betty Wong was applying similar principles, not least the importance of building long-term relationships with the people you do business with. You have, you know, very strong mathematical, numerical skills, you know, hence the finance background. But a lot of banking is personal and relationships. You know, what's your secret? Have you combined both?
Interesting question, Tim. I've, you know, when I had a mentor, they taught me, you know, if you want to win someone's trust, you need to, you know, win the personal trust first. You know, basically I sit down with a client, they need to at least like me in a way, right? They at least, you know, don't want to walk away or don't like to listen to anything I say. So that's the very first step, the personal trust. And the second one is the professional trust. So, you know, no matter how much a person likes you, you know, you need to be good at what you're doing too. So they need to trust you as a professional person and be able to hand you, you know, that big wealth for you to manage, and it does take a lot of trust. I guess my advantage was, you know, I do genuinely love my role. I genuinely, you know, love talking to all my clients, and then at the same time, I'm very passionate about what I do. I love the numbers. I love, you know, all the strategies, and I like to learn.
So they've got to like you, but once they like you, you've got to do well with their money.
Of course.
Yeah. The tastes, sights, and smells of China have always excited Heidi.
The food and the variations of food, no matter where you go, is so abundant, and the experiences of the different tastes and the different smells is something that you'll never get anywhere else. And of course, for me in my business, I just absolutely love that. And when I speak to someone that's sort of, whether a really great chef or someone that's producing, you know, a type of vegetable or a type of fruit, and you taste it and they're so passionate about it, you can't help but sort of, you know, take that passion and just get excited by it.
In many ways, the lessons she's learned from cooking have translated into insights on business. Though the recipe might be complex, you can, with the right ingredients, deliver a wonderful dish. Or to put it another way, as Melissa Edivone discovered, sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette. What's the biggest mistake you think you've learnt from?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. I think in the end, and we've learned the lesson a few ways, is trusting other people to do the job that you should just do yourself. If you get consultants in too soon and they're doing the work for you, A, they're getting the money, B, they're getting the contacts, and they have the know-how. And if they change their mind, you don't have any of that. So it's challenging, but you really need to learn And Heidi's always said this from the beginning, we're going to get you so far, but you need to get involved.
You know, with anything, it's about wanting to connect with the consumer. And I think when people look at it just as commerce and I just want to basically push a product onto someone, you know, China's the worst place to do that. But if they feel like you're listening to them, you're hearing what they say and how they want to eat or consume your product, then they're very supportive. And that's why social media here has been amazing, is because when they love a product, they tell everyone.
A lot of Australian companies have been successful in China and investors too. Going the other way, do you think the Chinese will continue to invest in Australia, or do you think the political tensions have made it difficult, at least in the short term?
You know, I think that Chinese people are incredibly practical. If they want to study abroad, if they want to travel abroad, if they want to move their home abroad or invest abroad, they will do it based on their own research. So if Australia continues to be a great place for students to learn, then they'll continue doing it. If it becomes too hard, if it becomes that the opportunities are not there, then they will also look to other countries. And I think that that's probably the biggest thing is that we need to make sure that we continue to become an international country and that we're opening up opportunities to allow those people their expertise to come into Australia.
And no better evidence of the benefits of this than Betty Wang.
I was 16 when I came to Australia. So, you know, the grow up, the teenager life was all in Wuhan. So I had a lot of memories in Wuhan, in the school and in, you know, in the family there. So there had always been a thing that, you know, when I hear about, you know, the great Chinese story, I hear about, you know, the development, there is a lot of potential opportunities in China, you know, my heart tickles. There is always a part, you know, I think, you know, I can do really well when I go back and, you know, it's a different lifestyle as well. But at the same time, you know, the longer and longer I stay in Australia, I think it's just, you know, it seems to be like, you know, the more and more I'm going to stay a bit longer.
Chinese born, succeeding in Australia. Australian born, succeeding in China. And Australian based, exporting to China. 3 women, 3 outstanding success stories. What advice would you give to others sort of going into China?
Well, what I'd say is, and I think Heidi's still saying this to us, it never gets easy. So it's not easy. And if it is too easy, you should be worried, really. I mean, you need to understand the culture, you need to understand the people you're working with, you need to have some money behind you and a budget to make it work. And don't give up.
If people don't think that they're going to make millions and millions of dollars, you know, in the first 6 months and they have a proper strategy, 100%, there is no reason why someone can't make money in this market.
Well, Heidi, thanks for the investment you've made in the program and look forward to seeing you in Shanghai.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take you out for a good meal.
Oh, here's Martin.
Enough talk. Now you're going to drink some.
We're drinking chai.
Well, here's to Bondi chai.
Here's the Bondi chai.
Well done. Now, your parents were both entrepreneurs. You're a successful entrepreneur. What would you say to your 3 children about their future?
Just have fun, you know, try their best, always strive for the best. You know, it doesn't matter what the result is, and that's what I really say to my kids, you know, just give a try, at least you tried it. It doesn't matter whether you're not ranking in the first place, but, you know, the most importantly, you've tried, you had fun, that's all it is about.
Very sound advice.
Thank you.
Betty, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here.